Well, forgive me, but when I was growing up, the ABC was a little dry, but at least you took it seriously. Now it seems to be this subject of ridicule. I mean, if you open the ABC, you do not expect it to be impartial. You don't really trust the facts that are on it, and it seems to be mostly politically driven. That is not the ABC that people pay for. It's part of our charter. It's supposed to be an ABC that you can respect. Is this a problem? Like, I mean, people are saying we should defund the ABC. Well, would it do better off if it had to compete on merit like everything else?
Well, it should compete on merit. It should be a subscription service. It shouldn't eat up $1.1 million worth of taxpayers' funds, and more importantly, spending increasing amounts of money on legal costs, which effectively are vanity exercises in order to prove that the ABC never makes a mistake. I mean, in the case I think came out of Senate estimates yesterday with regard to the Heston Russell case, the ABC may be parting, or we as taxpayers through the ABC may be parting with something like $3.2 million, which is on top of about the $1 million that they paid for Christian Porter. There was another $200,000 or $300,000, I think it was, for Andrew Laming, and the list goes on and on and on. There's probably something to come out of the Lehrman, Brittany Higgins thing. I mean, and as I say, they pushed back. In the case of Heston Russell, I think it was acknowledged at the very beginning of the trial that they didn't have a case, and they were wanting initially to withdraw but pursued it. And now they're talking about some sort of an appeal. But I mean, this is, as I say, it is all about vanity. It's about not giving ground and admitting the fact that you were pursuing a vendetta, and you know, you could call that a conspiracy if you like, but that's the way they go.
You're very much attached to your label as conspiracy theorist, but if you want real news, you come to places like ADH or The Spectator. But as a culture, what troubles me is that we seem to be struggling with the concept of free speech. Even the Liberal Party doesn't seem to truly value freedom of speech as a mechanism to keep society functioning. What do you feel when you look at parties like the Liberals when they're trying to argue against this very important misinformation, disinformation bill that's coming? Do you think that we need to have a conversation with politicians and get them to understand the value of free speech? Because at the moment, they come up with policies that are dangerous. They oppose them if Labor has them because they oppose Labor, but they don't embrace freedom of speech as such a part of our Western culture and what makes Australia great and what makes the free press great.
And it's a fundamental value. And the concern I have is that the misinformation, disinformation bill would have government ministers, government departments, in fact anything from government essentially exempted from penalty. Whereas even if you don't get fined or there's no penalty attaching to something that you have said which offends, remember this is qualitative, that it offends somebody who is the thought police, the very fact that you're going to be pulled up, you're going to have to be appearing at a certain time, which may be quite inconvenient to you, will be enough to deter a lot of people and a lot of thought and expression, which should be put to the media more generally and absorbed by the public. What we're finding increasingly, Alexandra, is that the people, the intelligentsia, the elite, the people who are in charge of this agenda do not believe you, I, or others have the intelligence or judgment to be able to decide for ourselves what is best. And you're beginning to see that as a consequence in the aftermath of the referendum, that we have to have days where we have grieving because we obviously got it wrong. We were not sufficiently well educated, we didn't understand, we didn't have the capacity to think through how important this was, and we voted no, 62% of us even, and we got it so horribly wrong. And we can't be allowed to do that. That is the danger of democracy, that people actually can come to conclusions themselves. Excuse me, and even if those conclusions are correct, we're not allowed for them to be put out there.